Hi, this is Shui with a review of the KD13. I'm sure many people were very much waiting uh, nervously and with a lot of excitement for this signature model to drop. This is the Brooklyn Nets version, as you can tell by the team colorway, and number 7 instead of a 35. They did a little bit of the two-tone thing a lot here. Here, the two-tone swoosh, and also there's a two-tone swoosh here as well. So yeah, nice touch in terms of maintaining um, a uniform type of design concept going on there. The upper, it's what I think is what they call the quad axial wire, which I have to reiterate, it's a very stupid and meaningless concept because if you have wires, the point is to keep you locked down, to provide resistance or stability from point A to point B. For instance, you need stability laterally, right? That's why you have an outrigger here. You don't put another outrigger at the top of your at the tip of your toes so that you'll have stability there as well, because you don't need that. You need to be able to ride smoothly forward, scroll forward, stride forward. That's why. You don't need to stride sideways. So what's the meaning of having these resistance multi-directionally? So it's either a gimmick or a failed attempt, or maybe there's some science behind it that I cannot comprehend. Please let me know. I would like to know. I would like to learn. Uh, the size, it fits pretty much true to size. If you have really narrow feet, you might want to consider go down half a size. But personally, I don't always recommend going down half a size because depending on when you're trying your shoes, your foot might be a little less bloated. Personally, I feel my foot is a little bit bigger in the morning, so that's when I try my shoes when I'm buying them in stores. So you should know yours. And also, your right and left leg, left foot, the size is a little bit different. So try to put your shoes on your bigger foot. So one side might not fit as well, but it's better than having one side that fits too tight, where your toenails get all crunched up and you have some health hazards that's experienced after you purchase an expensive shoe. Yeah, yeah, the fit is good. They do have another lockdown mechanism here to pull the heel towards the forefoot to the upper when you're locking down. The lace loop system is decent. Again, I always say I wish the laces would come down lower so you have a little bit of an extra security and lockdown there, stability. Um, it looks like a high top or a mid top, but it's actually pretty much of a low top. You can actually see your ankle doing a little peekaboo here. So it's like the KD4s or the Kyrie 1s in terms of the ankle height or support. Uh, there's no chafing or any obstruction or protruding things that could provide some injuries there. So it's a very comfortable, well padded ankle. Interestingly, it has a very minimal, if not uh, almost non existent heel cup. That's because the outsole comes up all the way to the mere midpoint of your heel cup. But I wish they would have had a more prominent heel cup instead of having an outsole come all the way up here. Because when you have that, you're going to have a lot of rigidity here, so it's not going to be cushioning your impact to provide a smooth transition where the cushioning of the midsole is utilized to the fullest. So this is a very dumb design, but I understand some players prefer to have this firmness and hardness so their foot is immediately flattened instead of having that compression here. But uh, Adidas has shown before that their idea of helping athletes run or have a faster first step is to have something more shaved up down here, so you're touching the floor early and immediately there's a transitional movement or motion forward. So this rubber is, personally, I think uh, that's a detriment to the design, especially when you're going with a full-length Zoom Strobel. This negates it. The Strobel, the Zoom Air Strobel is one more thing that I need to talk about. It's pretty much exactly the same as the one you've seen in the Zoom Universe and the KD12s. Many people were singing praises about it, but personally I thought it was just a full-length Zoom Air with, uh, which was fitting, which fit right below your foot, so you can feel it a little bit better. But it doesn't mean the shoe was a superior shoe in any way. They did an interesting twist to it this time. They added a forefoot zoom unit. It's not a huge, large zoom unit, but a decent size, probably a rectangular or this ergonomically sized zoom. But you can't really feel it. I guess it feels a little bit softer compared to the KD12s, but it doesn't make a world of difference. So where'd the money go? Uh, uh, the tragic attempt by KD13 is the insole. To hug the zoom strobel to make sure the insole stays and cups it and it's not moving away from it. It has this mold on the inside, which means at the core of the insole it's a lot thinner than it is around the edges. And what makes this insole even more intriguing is that it's hard. It's got some type of, I won't say carbon fiber, but plasticky type of coating, which is pretty thick. If you try the Kobe 6, you'll understand the insoles that says, I want a shoe or sole that forms to my foot or something. It was written all over it, but it was a failed attempt, and this rigid surface negates the cushioning. I guess some people who prefer shoes that are not mushy would prefer something like that, but if you like shoes that are not mushy, why go for a full-length Zoom Air? Just get a shoe that doesn't have air sole units or have a firmer midsole. But anyway, yeah, this is a pretty, it's a very similar Ortholite insole that you've seen in the KD12, except it's coated with this rigid, thick, rigid substance. So what it does is, it does provide a little bit more of a propulsion, I guess, like a carbon plate. Not a carbon plate per se, but something close to that. But it just kills the zoom. So I don't understand why you're doing this. The 4-foot zoom is not prominent. It's not something that feels different from the KD12s. It's very, it feels similar to the KD12s, but one bright side is the KD12s, they had a lot more firmness on the heel. So it's a little bit more softer, but it's still very low to the ground, and the heel shock absorption or impact protection is not as good as it should be. If you can tell by the zoom strobel, it's very flat. It's a flat horizon. So there's not much of a heel to toe drop, and then you've added a Zoom Air which you can't feel. So it's a very mysterious setup. Interesting part is that they've had the insides exploding out of the tongue. Instead of the stitches at the end, they have the inner EVA or rubbery foam material protruding out. So this is actually nice, because I sometimes you have the stitchy rough edges kind of shaping around your foot if you're wearing like low ankle socks. So this should actually provide some comfort and or get rid of that discomfort factor. The outsole is similar to the PG3s or the Why Not 02s. These days I'm really learning to have a brand new appreciation for these kicks. As you can tell, even though it doesn't have like a Zoom Air, it has a soft foam unit, and it has it goes with your ride as you step forward. It will cushion and cradle your motion. So this is what you should do instead of having an outsole that's like covering the entire area. So the KD13, it's a mystery. It's an enigma to me. It feels like they didn't put in a lot of thought into it. They may have kind of half-heartedly do it, or maybe they rushed into it. The one very important fact is that Kevin Durant wasn't going to be playing an entire season. Well, maybe not an entire season, but probably most of the season he was gonna be out. And so when that happens, it feels like the design or the quality of the signature shoes seem to drop a little bit, like the D Rose series after they've had numerous injuries and seasons that were short-lived. They just kind of seem to stop caring about Derrick Rose's shoe from the Rose 8, 9, and 10s. I think the 11's going to be decent because he actually kind of revived his career a little bit, resurrected his career a little bit. So yeah, I would say this is a mild alteration of the KD12 with an uglier design, with a more durable outsole that has a better grip and that's going to be not super sensitive to dust. Another thing is they do have a carbon or plastic anti-inversion plate that is at the bottom, right on the outsole, instead of having it obstructing the cushioning. But then they have this little plasticky coating. For a size 9, it weighs about 360 grams, so it's not that heavy. I guess that's pretty much it. It's a weird concoction. Yeah, I can't really say great things about this shoe. If you like the outsole grip pattern it provides, and the forefoot zoom cushioning is what you're looking for, even without a full-length zoom and a forefoot, this with just full-length, forefoot zoom bag and just foam, or maybe injected Phylon foam at the heel, it's adequate. This feels way better than the KD13, and this is probably like half or 1/3 the price of the new release KD13. So what's going on?